So chances are you're watching this video because you're either a subscriber of mine or play Alamojam, or you used to play Alamojam in the past and YouTube recommended you this video. Whatever the case might be, today we're going to go over what caused Alamojam's rise in popularity all those years ago when it was the hottest game around, and then what also caused it to take a full U-turn in not only popularity but also development for the game. It's important to note, even though Alamojam is technically called Alamojam Classic now, I'll be referring it to as Alamojam in this video. Without further ado, let's get started. Now, to get a full understanding of how Alamojam took off, we need to go way back to the very start of Alamojam, when the game first came out for beta testing in partnership with National Geographic's kids. Back during the beta days, the player base was small, and all there was pretty much to do was play minigames, make friends, and buy items, typical kind of stuff. When the game moved on into its full release, however, all of this pretty much changed. Memberships were introduced, certain items became member exclusive, and trading was also added later on, and soon enough an in-game economies started to form. Alamojam was seeing how players were adapting, so they introduced this little tag here, the rare tag. This easily became the #1 motive for most players to play Alamojam, to get rare, most even ditching other features like minigames and purely focusing on trading. Like it or not, this played a huge part in Alamojam's success. But not only that, people started to create content on primarily YouTube and Instagram, sharing their trades or generally playing Alamojam just for their audiences. And then in 2012, Alamojam had its first boom it was waiting for. Millions upon millions of kids were signing up to Alamojam and were fascinated by designing their own animals, wearing items, and creating of the other sorts. This appealed a lot to kids. With this, Alamojam's revenue income was just going up and up. They then started broadcasting advertisements for Alamojam on international television, blog pages, video sharing platforms, and more. Not to mention they were getting their own video advertisements and magazine advertisements on the National Geographic's Kids magazine. The reach of Alamojam just kept growing and growing, and it looked like there was no end in sight. However, things then started to take a reflux. Near the end of 2016, Alamojam's popularity stunted and started to take a sharp decline, and there's many reasons for this. Earlier on, I referenced how a large amount of players started playing solely for rares and trading. With this, some players turned to illegitimate means to quickly gain rares, such as scamming or hacking. And as you probably guessed, this led to a lot of players who fell victim to this to ultimately quit the game for good. It's unfortunate to see others ruin players' experience with Alamojam like this and essentially cut their time spent on the game short just by scamming or hacking. This was technically in Alamojam's control, but also really out of their control. They could have spent more time monitoring the game and taking fast action against those who reported for scamming or those who were sending chat messages that gave the impression that they were scamming. But we also have to consider how many moderators would be necessary to completely nullify scamming on the game. There were millions of players playing at this point, and it would be impossible for them to do so. As for hacking, I feel like Alamojam should have definitely put more of an effort on awareness for methods people use to hack, such as phishing links or common social engineering tactics. It seems only in recent years that they have actually made more awareness on this by posting on their Instagram certain posts around these kind of methods, but it's kind of already too late at this point. The damage has been done. Next, the lack of new game content on Alamojam. So if we look at the past 10, almost 11 years on Alamojam, how many features do you think have been added? 5, 10, 15, more? No. 3, arguably 4. That being creation of masterpieces, adventures, my shops so players can resell their items for in-game currency, and also eco items, I guess, with eco credit generating, which is really just a small gimmick they added for Earth Day in 2020, but that's it, nothing else. If you went back all the way to 2010 on Alamojam, the only things you would be missing excluding those features would just be animals, lands, and items, and that's pretty much it. And Alamojam knows this. this. I would describe Animal Jam as a generational game in the aspect they don't make updates for their long-term players, but rather for players in the next generations to come. But you think this would be somewhat alright. Unfortunately, the last time Animal Jam even got a new animal was in 2019. Instead, the focus of the development team has been shifted onto the mobile counterpart Animal Jam Play Wild, going as far as taking the original Animal Jam brand name and dubbing the original Animal Jam as Animal Jam Classic. Following up to this, the increase of creators and influencers leaving the game and community has also inflicted a lot of damage on the player base. This is inevitable. There's always a point where people get burned out, especially with YouTube videos for this game, but creators who were on top of this with hundreds of thousands of subscribers who pumped out videos for years, quitting because the previous effects essentially ricocheting, it makes me think, what is Animal Jam even doing? That's not even to mention WildWorks, the company behind Animal Jam, and National Geographic's Kids discontinued their partnership around 2018 for an unknown reason, and the reason was never actually given out to the public. All they had to state was that they would continue to do well without the support they got from Nat Geo, and unfortunately it doesn't seem like that claim is holding up. As for Animal Jam nowadays, it doesn't seem like it'll have another spike in popularity anytime soon, let alone at all. I say this because, well, Flash games aren't as hot as they used to be. The shutdown of Adobe Flash Player didn't help Animal Jam's decrease in players as is either. And this isn't even mentioning the once a month Animal Jam Classic update they pump out, which is just rehashed, recolored items, re-released animals and dens, with gimmicky different color schemes around it. However, mobile gaming is pretty hot, and that's why they shifted focus onto Animal Jam Play Wild. Makes me think if they were to bring over Animal Jam to mobile, would it perform as well, if not better, than Play Wild? Or if they just gave the game a chance again with experimenting some new updates with new features that would leave players wanting to come back, would Animal Jam return to its former glory? Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see for what the future comes for Animal Jam, but as said prior, it doesn't seem like it is going anywhere anytime soon.